coming up on this week's episode of Unlocked, it's IGN's weekly Xbox show. We're going to time travel back and see what Xbox eras we would most like to relive. Plus, trouble at Bungie, trouble, well, with one particular CEO at Gearbox, talking about the price of the upcoming Borderlands 4, plus some good news in the form of a new feature, new set of games, a new service, in fact, coming to Xbox Game Pass, some pleasant surprises in the top-selling games of April 2025, and more.
This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Sierra 117, and you're listening to Podcast Unlocked, the world's #1 Xbox podcast. Now, finish this fight. Master Chief, out.
What's happening, friends? Welcome to Podcast Unlocked. It is IGN's weekly Xbox show for the 694th time. We're publishing this bad boy on May 22nd, 2025, and we are recording it on May 21st, 2005. Ryan McCaffrey here. Next to me on your screen or in your ear, if you're listening to us on audio, is the great Michael Hyam. Michael, what's happening, sir?
Oh man, it feels good to be back. It's been a while. I was, if y'all watch content around other sites, I was on Kind of Funny to talk about Claire Obscure a little bit. And then I got really sick because I went to PAX East. So I came back, I got the PAX flu, as it's colloquially known as, but I am close to 100% now. So I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. I got a lot to catch up on. I got a lot to talk about. So, and right on the heels of IGN Live too. I got to get these things out of my system before we go all in on the summer of gaming, as we call it.
This is the week to do it, because I did want to let everybody know there will not be an episode of Unlocked next week. Everything logistically, physically, in every sense of the word, is being packed up, moved to LA. We've got, of course, our big IGN Live event, which I'm going to promote here in a second, which I hope you'll come down and join us for. But yeah, no podcast next week. So after this episode, our next show will be, well, kind of our usual two-part showcase thing. We will be live in both cases. So we'll have our live pre-show, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be on Sunday, June 8th, the day of the Xbox Showcase, because, of course, it is our live pre-show right before the showcase. We're going to do our annual Xbox Showcase predictions then. So we're going to do them right there at the last second for you. So do tune in live with us on any of IGN's channels for that one. And then the next Unlocked, if you will be immediately following the Xbox Showcase. We'll be live again. We'll still be live, so just keep watching that whole morning or early afternoon, depending on where you are time zone wise. And we will have all of our reactions, analysis, all that stuff of everything that Microsoft's going to throw at us there for the 2025 Xbox Showcase. Now, if you're wondering, why is it only two of you again? It's because poor Miranda, I feel so bad. She slacked this morning, and apparently her voice just went last night, and it is no better today. So the podcast is the last thing that she's able to do right now. So Miranda, get well soon, rest up, and we will see you live. We'll all three be together live on stage for our pre and post show at IGN Live covering the Xbox Showcase. All right, Michael, you know what? I'm talking too much. I'm going to make you talk about IGN Live and do the promo here real quick. So what can people look forward to if they want to come grab a ticket and come hang out with us?
Well, I got you, Ryan, because IGN Live is coming to downtown Los Angeles, California in the middle of summer. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be warm. It's going to be fun on June 7th and June 8th. That is a Saturday and a Sunday. IGN's in-person fan event. It's IGN Live. It's coming downtown LA. Yeah, like I said, June 7th and 8th. So mark that on your calendars. Come hang out with us downtown LA at the Magic Box at the Reef for an exciting live show all weekend long. We'll have huge reviews, reveals. We'll not have reviews. We'll be very busy with other things. So we'll have huge reveals, interviews on stage with celebrities and your favorite games industry folks, playable PC, console, and handheld gaming stations, awesome panels, IGN merch, tons of giveaways, and more. You could expect to see Squid Game, Critical Role, Resident Alien, 10 playable ID at Xbox games, and so many more playable games on the show floor. If you saw it last year, it's even bigger this year, and we have so much more to share in the coming days and at the event. So head on over to IGN.com/live to grab your tickets and use code UNLOCKED for a special discount. Make sure you use the code UNLOCKED to let the folks know that we sent you there. So that is exciting. Ryan and Miranda and I are going to be there, as we said, doing Unlocked, but it's a whole weekend celebration. There's going to be so much to do, and we're excited to put it on. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be something special for sure.
Yeah, and there's definitely plenty of reason for Xbox fans to come down, because we're kind of the official watch party with Microsoft here. So you come watch it in a big room full of fellow Xbox fans, fellow gamers. You get the hooting and the hollering. You get the crowd energy, which is so much fun. And then again, just walk downstairs at the event and come hang out with us at the main stage for our post show, all the reactions, all that stuff. So do come and visit us in LA in just, what is this, 2 weeks away? Is that right, Michael? Jeez.
2 weeks away.
Yeah. I mean, from the day this episode publishes, it's 2 weeks and it's 17 days away. We are so close. We're on the eve of this thing.
I got so much to worry about, Ryan. I'm excited, but holy crap, man, it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, you're by day, you're on our hardware team, and there's only a major console launching in the middle of all of that.
One of the major platform holders couldn't possibly release their next generation console on the week of SGF/IGN Live. No way they would do that. There's so many weeks in the year they could do that, right?
They got 52 to choose from.
Yeah. Thanks, Nintendo. Damn.
Although, I mean, and really on that note, if you didn't get a Switch 2 pre-order, come to IGN Live, because people will no doubt be all over the place with them, probably playing Mario Kart World with each other. I would basically guarantee that you'll get a chance to check out the Switch 2. From your fellow IGN Live goers. I don't know if I honestly don't know if we'll have any like physically set up. I hope so, but
we're trying.
There will be Switch 2s in the building. I think I can pretty much 99% promise that if you want to check it out.
Yes.
All right, Michael. There's also a pretty cool Xbox Humble Bundle promo for charity, and you get a bunch of cool games. Can you tell us about that, please?
Absolutely, I can do that. So now's a great time to score some incredible Xbox games through Humble. The Xbox Game Studios publisher bundle is live now through May 23rd. So as you're hearing this, you have
act fast.
Yeah, act fast. Hop on this because it's packed with hits. Just pay $5 to unlock Broken Age, Sunset Overdrive, and Battletoads, or pay $10 or more to get all those games plus Wasteland 3, Quantum Break, As Dusk Falls, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Age of Empires Definitive Edition. Every purchase supports Gameheads, a nonprofit helping train the next generation of game developers from underserved communities. Whether you're building your backlog or discovering something new, it's the perfect time to grab these Xbox classics and give back. So
Good
check that out.
Yeah, love that. All right, let's move on with the podcast. So we did have some actual relevant breaking news, not like hardcore breaking news, but news that popped before we recorded for once. So we'll do that in a little bit, but I'm going to lead with what we plan to start with. So I just kind of randomly had this thought and posted it on social and got a great response to it. So I'm so sorry Miranda couldn't be here because she was excited to talk about this as well. So we'll save hers for another time. But Michael, I thought you and I could chat through this for a few minutes before we move on to our other topics this week. So what gaming era would you most like to go back and relive if you could? Now I'm talking about moments that just aren't possible anymore. So because most games, thankfully, game preservation is relatively healthy in the sense that most games you can still play today, right now, if you want to, some awesome game from your past. But there are moments that are gone, that are just, we're never going to recreate. They're just over and done with. So I thought maybe you and I could ping pong back and forth a couple times here, just play a little nostalgia tennis, if you will.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, I'll let you serve here, and then I'll volley back.
Sure.
Give me an error. Give me something from your past that you'd most like to go back and relive.
Man, I thought about this a lot. I think about this all the time, man. Specifically with Xbox, so when we talk, we have console generations and all that. But for me, the way in which I grew up, I kind of like broke up a lot of my memories in terms of like the school year. So I'd have like, fall semester, winter break, spring semester, summer. Like I would always divide like my memories up in that and like that. So
your memories were on an academic calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. And they had been for a very, very long time. So summer 2003 was probably one of the more special like summers of gaming for me, I guess. Because this is when I felt like, when I look back on it too, Xbox Live had really come into its own. It kind of like had a year to mature. It had games released. It kind of, we saw not so great games and we saw some hits along the way. And this was like before it kind of reached its pinnacle, because this was before Halo 2 had come out. Once Halo 2 came out, Xbox Live was like, that was the thing. But the year before that was still like really, really special, because I had like admired PC games from afar for so long, but we couldn't afford a PC and we were just getting internet. So that wasn't something I had access to, but I did have an Xbox. And at the time, Xbox was getting a lot of PC ports.
True.
And with the advent of Xbox. Yeah, and good ones too. Not just like slop or anything, just like, ports and whatever, like without like the quality of life features that you want out of a console game. So when I got my hands on Xbox Live and all of these PC ports, it felt like I had access to a whole library, and not just a library of games, but a certain aspect of game I just didn't have, which was playing online and competitive games. So summer 2003 was like the pinnacle of that, because I had a little bit of everything. And some standouts to me, Rainbow Six 3 was, I had talked about it before. I loved Rainbow Six, but I didn't have a PC, so I couldn't play Raven Shield at the time, but they ported Rainbow Six 3. And the way in which I was able to figure out how that game works from a tactical level, I was cooking folks. I was 12 years old, 13 years old, cooking people online, just because like I had all the time in the world. That's another thing too, is like a lot of this nostalgia comes from the fact that I was a kid and I had time to do all this stuff. I had time to get good at these games and really climb the leaderboard, sink my teeth into, really figure these games out. So Rainbow Six 3 was like a huge standout for me. Soldier of Fortune 2.
Wait, can we go back to Rainbow Six for just a quick second?
Absolutely.
I'm right there with you on that one. Even offline, just in the single player campaign, I loved using the Xbox Live chat headset to give your AI squad mates voice commands. So you'd stack them up at the door and then you'd say, go, go, go. And then they would bust through it was just so cool. It sounds ridiculous, but it was so cool.
Yeah, it was an era of novelty, I think, that it was all new to us.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel cheap at the time too. So Rainbow Six was huge with that voice commands, online multiplayer. Soldier of Fortune 2 is like a really strange game, because if that game is like really gruesome. It's very, very gory. But I felt like the shooting mechanics were actually very good, and I played a lot of Capture the Flag
Software, online. Man, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's wild, like to think back to that lineage that they had. Soldier of Fortune 2, when they got that PC port for called Double Helix, it was a wild time. Unreal Championship was huge too, because like, I played Unreal Tournament 99 on like library computers at the time. I'm like, wow, I really want this game for myself, but the Unreal Championship was the closest thing, which was a port of Unreal Tournament 2003. So it's a very good port. Return to Castle Wolfenstein though, man, that was peak. That was peak.
It was like, so good.
Don't get me wrong. Halo 2 is the multiplayer Xbox Live GOAT, but for me, it was Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Yeah, I've talked about before.
Class-based multiplayer.
Yeah, being a medic, just racking up points, just sticking syringes in fools, throwing med packs, all that stuff. The Counter-Strike port was actually pretty good. Ghost Recon was on that thing. Project Gotham Racing 2, playing cat and mouse with Mini Coopers and Lamborghinis, pushing each other through like the game modes that we would come up with. And Midtown Madness 3. my brother got really
Oh,
mad at me.
yes.
I was playing Midtown Madness 3 online, and I was just like cracking jokes with the randoms online. And it was like at midnight. It was summer. I didn't care. I didn't have anywhere to go. My brother was in the military at the time too, so he has to wake up at like 5 and go to like go to the Navy base for work. And he busted into my room. He's like, "Yo, shut the hell up!" And I'm like, "Damn, man, I'm having a good time with the homies." He's like, "Who are your homies?" Like, I don't know. It's just randoms online. It's just that era, specifically in the summer of 2003, it was like the confluence of all these different kinds of games, the novelty of online multiplayer through a console, and just really good PC ports at the time. Like there are quote unquote like better eras of, console generations. But that for me, that moment in time, summer 2003, man, I would love to go back to re-experience that sense of discovery. Like, I can't believe I'm playing these really intricate online games that I thought were inaccessible to me because they were all PC games. Now they're on console in like pretty good form. So I miss that era so much.
Really well said. I had written down as an honorary mention, because I did 2 and then an honorary mention. I'm just going to do that real quick because it's just right in line with yours. And it's basically what I had written down for my honorary mention is the original Xbox Live era. So which basically is November 2002 when the service launched up until the 360 launched in November of 2005. So this 3-year window, that's kind of a long era. That's why it's my honorary mention. I have more specific examples. But yeah, it's everything you're talking about. And what I would add to what you said is that part of the joy of it for me, and I imagine you would agree with this, is that it's not that it was a niche thing, but it hadn't gone so mainstream yet where it was just this default accepted, expected thing. And what I'm trying to say is the people that were online on Xbox Live in those original Xbox days, they were there because they wanted to be there. They were paying to be there. It was like, and that fostered such a sense of, not that trolling was completely gone. I mean, of course, there was still some of that, but I just have such vivid memories of jumping into random matchmaking games for Ghost Recon. Was one of my favorite games from the launch of Xbox Live in fall of 2002, and people would talk and they would actually like play the game. Like they would coordinate with you over voice chat. And that's just like, that's all gone. And it's never, ever, ever coming back.
Nope.
Like you can find that with sort of friend groups or sort of like gaming clans or whatever. But in terms of the general, just jumping into a game, that's dead forever. I mean, for one, most people are in party chat now. Like you're just not even gonna really encounter other people in terms of their actual voices, which maybe some people would be like, that's for the better, but I wouldn't necessarily disagree. But that's really good shout on that. Cause it's those first few years of Xbox Live were just this, I think the closest thing to the sort of platonic ideal of what online multiplayer gaming could be. And I know I'm romanticizing it, but I'm telling you, if you were there, as you were, some of our listeners are too young. But if you were there, I'm not.
That was real. I forgot I had that in my sub notes for my entry, but like maybe it's the rose tinted glasses, but there was like a goofy innocence to people's demeanor on Xbox Live where we were mostly cracking harmless jokes. It's just like people being goofy because there's kind of like this online spaces were still trying to mature. And like, I think people were still trying to like find the boundaries, for better or worse, trying to find the boundaries. There's a lot of trash talk and people being dumb. Let me tell you, but like, man, your mom jokes of that era went so crazy. Oh man, it was just like, because it's a lot of like early 20, like teenagers, people in their early 20s, like just saying dumb things.
Pre-social media.
Yeah, it was, I wouldn't say it was completely harmless. There were edgelords, of course, saying like wild things, but like proportion wise to what you hear nowadays and what you expect nowadays to what actually was during that era, it was night and day.
Yeah, absolutely. So for my first era that I would time travel back to and experience again if I could from a gaming perspective, it does overlap with what you were talking about, but I wanted to zero in specifically on what I would call peak Halo 2 era, meaning from the launch of that game on November 9th, 2004, until the 360 came out 1 year later on November 22nd, 2005. Because not that Halo 2 just stopped, but when the 360 came out, that kind of definitely shifted. Halo 2 wasn't like the thing anymore, even though tons of people were still playing it. But that first year, which I don't know how many literal thousands of hours I put into Halo 2 multiplayer in that window. But the thing is, again, if I know people can experience it now through Master Chief Collection, and it's still great, and I still think it holds up super well, but at the time, and Michael, I know you can attest to this, Halo 2 wasn't just a brilliant multiplayer game that also happened to have literally the best and most revolutionary online matchmaking system for friends and randoms that a console game. Actually, I don't even know if you could limit it to console. Like back then, PC online multiplayer was just like server browsing. You'd go on, you'd browse a list of servers and go, I guess I'll join that one because the ping time looks low. But Halo 2, it completely reinvented how online matchmaking and hanging out. Like you could buddy up with your friends, like up to 16 of your friends, and you could all stay together for the whole night. Like it would, you'd play a game, it would dump you back to that same lobby. Everybody's still in there, and you just reconfigure the map and the game type and all that, and just keep going, or you jump into matchmaking, whatever you wanted to do. But it was also, in addition to all those brilliant things on the actual game side, it was also a cultural moment. I mean, Halo 2 at the time had the biggest day one sales of any entertainment, anything ever, like even more than movies at that point, because it did like 125 million in a day, which back then, box office movies, they weren't doing that in a day at that point in time. So, and then I guess I would add one more thing about peak Halo 2 is it was 3 years of some of the most insane buildup and anticipation you could ever imagine after Halo 1 had been this revolutionary game that really brought first-person shooters to consoles and was the killer app. You had to buy an Xbox, you had to play this thing, and people had been playing Halo 1 multiplayer, split screen, system link, doing LAN parties and stuff, but Halo 2 actually lived up to the hype after all of that anticipation and build-up. It was also before Call of Duty had come and taken over really the entire multiplayer landscape, because Call of Duty only existed as a good PC game. It hadn't ventured over into consoles yet. So Halo was the big thing from 2004 to 2005, and I just miss logging on every night with my coworkers and friends and just playing it and just having endless good times. And even remember Michael, that Bungie they actually had all your stats were on the website on bungie.net, and we would go and like just look at all of our stats, and it was all, like you said, it was all just brand new and so good, and so just there was so much joy delivered by that game specifically for me that it's gone, right? Like I could still fire up Master Chief Collection, I could jump into Halo 2 multiplayer right now, but it's not, the moment's gone, right? It's not the same. So
yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, like I said, like 2003 was like kind of like my fondest memories, but man, like that, when that game came out, me and my friends like packing our Xboxes into our backpacks and bringing them over to each other's houses. Like the online multiplayer, don't get me wrong, was like, that was nothing short of revolutionary, but still like the spirit of LAN parties and
Yeah.
bringing them over and hooking them up to small TVs, doing split screen on small TVs in a living room, ordering pizza. Like that's just, I think, I think I'm very lucky to have been at like the perfect age for this era. So that definitely plays into why these things are so fond and kind of like forming our gaming tastes, man. Yeah, that is like you said though. That's I can only remember it because we're too old to be lugging Xboxes at to each other's houses. I mean, and we kind of don't have to anymore. And then that's
the thing. Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. It's like you had to do those things and they were inconvenient, but that inconvenience, that effort you had to put in is kind of part of what makes those moments special, right? So
you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's in that way, online gaming, and I don't want this taken out of context, but like in that specific example, you could say that online gaming kind of ruined multiplayer gaming. Obviously, it has had a very awesome net positive effect on gaming overall, but you're right. Like we just don't do that anymore. Like we don't haul our systems and televisions over to our buddies' houses anymore to do that stuff and stay up all night, like, or eating pizza. It's
we got handhelds now, so
you're on your couch. Yeah. You're on your couch now. So
yeah.
Oh, good stuff. All right, give me one more, Michael, and then I'll give you one more, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. Not too far off of summer 2003, but winter 2003, 2004. This is also a very personal thing, is where I don't know, like that winter break, I kind of started to like rediscover a bunch of other games because like when I got Xbox Live, I was online multiplayer only. That's all I was doing day in and day out. Just like shooters, racing games all day. But then in the winter, I had I talked about Deus Ex so many times. So I was really looking forward to Deus Ex Invisible War. And when that game finally dropped on December 3rd, December 4th, 2003. I remember because it got delayed twice because I had that reserved at my local GameStop. It was such a distinct memory. I was like really into Linkin Park. I was really into Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic at the time too, because that came out in September, and I was like,
that was July. That was over the summer.
Okay,
it doesn't matter though. Go ahead. It's fine.
But like I had been in like such a RPG phase. Like I was constantly replaying Knights of the Old Republic. I was sinking my teeth into Deus Ex Invisible War, even though it's like technically not a great game, not a great Deus Ex game. I still loved it for what it was. Max Payne 2 was huge for me. Like I had played Max Payne 1 on PS2, but it was like so hard that I didn't finish the game because I was a dumb kid. But something about Max Payne 2 just like hone in on that dark noir storytelling that I should not have been playing. Oh, Mona Sachs, that's the homegirl right there, man. Oh man, I loved Max Payne 2 so much. I was playing Need for Speed Underground. I was just like, I think that time I started to like branch into so many different genres, and that's why I remember that specific era so fondly. Because I had like the Xbox had gone to a point where like the library had gotten like really diverse, and multi-platform games, like I would play the multi-platform games on Xbox. Like Invisible War was console exclusive to Xbox. It was on PC also, and Knights of the Republic was on PC, but Max Payne 2 was multi-platform. But I played all this stuff on Xbox, and so it was just nice to have like centralized, like, oh, this is like one console where I can get all the multi-platform games and the PC games that I don't have access to all in one spot, and I'll still wrecking fools in Rainbow Six 3. So like that point, I was locked in, man. Like and just that feeling of, hey, I don't have to go to school. I don't got a job. I'm just chilling. Like I'll go outside. I'll play with my friends outside, but you can catch me on Xbox Live, baby.
Oh, so well said. Yeah, Max Payne. Rest in peace, James McCaffrey, my dad. Not really my dad, but always cool to see other famous McCaffrey. They pop up every now and again, right? Every now and again, there's a famous McCaffrey. But
yeah, like
James McCaffrey, the voice of Max Payne, passed away last year. Rest in peace, James. I'll tell you, for that Max Payne 1 and 2 remake that Remedy's doing, that I'm, by the way, super pumped about. Like the idea of that developer, I mean, it's their own game. It's not some port house. Like Remedy's arguably only gotten more talented over the years, and now they're going to go back with new tech and completely remake Max Payne 1 and 2, that's going to be killer. But if it comes down to like if those audio files, if the VO that James McCaffrey did, if it's like too low bit rate or whatever for modern standard and they have to recast it, that's a tall task. That's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough with him not being the voice of Max Payne. But anyway, so much good stuff in there, Michael. Absolutely, it's just killer, man. For me, I'm gonna give one more, and we could keep going for like an entire show. Actually, we could keep going on this.
It feels like there's something special about every like block of time, right?
Well, and yeah, especially like certainly I know a lot of listeners probably already posting in the comments right now of the first half of the 360 era, just or just fall of 2007, which was arguably the single greatest stretch in literal gaming history, and much of that at Xbox was like heavily in the middle of that with Halo 3 and Mass Effect 1 and stuff. But the other one that I wanted to give for my little personal anecdote here is what I'm going to call the Rock Band era. Nothing against Guitar Hero, but when Harmonix, so quick history lesson for those that aren't aware. Guitar Hero was first, and it was created by Harmonix, a developer you've probably heard of. They're owned by Epic now and doing stuff with Fortnite. But Harmonix, they were basically a bunch of game developers who were also all musicians on the side, or maybe not even on the side. Like they were just musicians. And they had tapped into this, like this thing with Guitar Hero. And then Activision bought that, but they didn't buy Harmonix. So Harmonix went off and partnered with MTV at the time, not a company you think of as a video game publisher, but they did Rock Band, where they blew it out to 4 people. And when that, I remember seeing like, I think it was I guess at the time either a YouTube video or just some clip from a press conference or something, and it must have been like an EA E3 press conference where it was 4 people from Harmonix, 4 developers giving a demo, like playing it on a stage. And it just looked like the most fun thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then I remember when we finally got to play it. So I'm an official Xbox magazine at this point. So I've got like early access to all this stuff. When we finally got our Rock Band kit, it was like the greatest day, one of the greatest days ever. It was so good. And we just couldn't stop. So the Rock Band era, which I'll call November 2007, because that's when Rock Band 1 came out. And I'll say up through Rock Band 3 coming out, because 3, it kind of had started to tail off by that. You know, they added the keyboard, but 3 just, it wasn't the same anymore. Like the moment was kind of passing at that point. So I'll call it November 07 to holiday 2010, which really basically encompasses Rock Band 1 and Rock Band 2. And it just, I don't know if you have any Rock Band memories yourself, Michael.
Bro.
You seem like the kind of guy who absolutely would have some killer memories.
Yeah, absolutely. I play music myself, so
nice.
And the advent of like the plastic instrument gaming era, like I'm good at rhythm games. Like I don't like to like flex and be like, oh, I'm so good at Call of Duty or whatever. Like I'm decent at everything. But when it comes to rhythm games, I do not play around. I am very, very good at rhythm games.
Hell yeah. I need to, so you've got to come over it then at some point, and I got to just bust out. I still have it. Like the kits are worth money now, which sucks that they're not just available, that you have to pay a premium on eBay to get a functioning one. But I've got a stash. I've got, I think, like 2 drum kits hiding away. Yeah. And I've got some guitars hiding away too.
Yeah. That era, like, the thing too is it's almost similar to what Tony Hawk's Pro Skater did for me, was informing my music taste. I was already a teenager at the time, so I was already like deep into like metal, punk rock. in hip hop. Like my music taste had already formed, but I was discovering new bands or
Totally.
like discovering old music through Rock Band and Guitar Hero. And
Me
man,
too.
like, and yeah, like when no, this is not Rock Band, but when I got a perfect on expert on Metallica's One in Guitar Hero 3,
Yes.
dog, when I ripped through that solo, oh my God, dog. I was like, yo, I would already love Metallica at the time, but like to do what, especially through the solo, oh my God, man, I love that.
Oh, and when Rock Band did weekly DLC,
Yeah.
which was insane.
Yeah.
That was at the time, that was completely insane and unheard of. Every week there was new stuff, and sometimes they had full albums. They did 10 by Pearl Jam, which was incredible in the game.
Yeah.
I remember the week that they had the Metallica 3-pack, and it was and Justice for All, I think Ride the Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I don't think it was it one? Maybe it was one. But anyway, yeah, the thing about like Rock Band, to this day, the multiplayer in that game, the co-op multiplayer, it just produced a feeling of joy and camaraderie that no other game has replicated. And I know that sounds like a ridiculous, hyperbolic exaggeration, but I promise you it's true. It's just like
you had to be there.
It's a different when you're four of you are in a room, one of you's got the mic, and I was usually I cannot sing at all. I never like to be the person with the mic. But whether you had the mic or you've got one of the guitars, bass or lead guitar, or you're behind the drum kit, and like you all activate star power, or I guess it was overdrive in Rock Band.
Yeah.
You all just hit it at the same time to hit the score multiplier, and you're all just it is. I really think that Harmonix achieved. I've never been in a band, and I can't play a real instrument, but I really feel like they probably replicated the feeling of playing
band,
real music with other human beings as closely as any video game has ever come close to accomplishing.
It was pretty close. Like I play music. I haven't been in a band, but I played music and had jam sessions with friends, and it's pretty close too. And when with Rock Band introducing vocals, it's like, hey, this is a karaoke game too. That everyone can participate in. Like I will pick the songs that I can sing, and then like everyone else still can participate by playing drums, bass, or guitar as well. And like that novelty, like that, like you said, the moment's gone, but that novelty pops up every now and then. I remember I went to PAX West 2019, and I went to like this Airbnb I had with like a bunch of like freelancers at the time, and they had Rock Band set up, and that was all we did that night. It felt like for at least this moment right now, I am back to 2007. And so like, that fun can still exist in some form. I guess, of course, it's not as frequent as it was back then when we were all playing that, but that novelty is like, there's something like, particularly with rhythm games and music, like that doesn't go away. Our love for rhythm games and music doesn't go away. The moment might be gone, but music is forever.
Yeah, and to your point as well, I had the same thing where it introduced me to a lot of music that I love now. Like I didn't really like. Of course, I've heard songs by The Who, but like they put I think they put all of Who's Next in the game there, which is their like biggest, most famous album, and it's like, yeah, this is awesome. And Rush is another one where like, sure, I've heard Rush, but like, oh no, like Rush is really good and it's super fun to play in the game. Coheed and Cambria, like so much fun to play in the game.
Yep.
There's just, so much. Oh man. Yeah. That's again, like that moment is gone, but I would kill to go back and experience that again. So that's
Absolutely.
That was good stuff. So I will, this is an episode where I will look forward to reading the comments of everybody kind of sharing their favorite gaming eras that they'd like to go back and relive if they could. All right, my friend, we've been chatting for a while, but we've got plenty more to talk about. We're going to pivot from the joy of nostalgia to the opposite of that, which is like a once great developer whose reputation is absolutely withering and deteriorating before our eyes. And I say that with no joy whatsoever. I mean, it's the developer in question is unfortunately Bungie. And they, of course, they're owned by Sony now, but they still put everything out on everything, including Xbox. That was a contingent of the deal, is they would not be making exclusive Sony stuff. So Bungie is once again battling. I don't even know if it's accusations at this point. We might journalistically be able to call it actual for sure plagiarism. Yet another artist has accused Bungie of lifting aspects of their work, this time for Marathon, which is their upcoming extraction shooter. After numerous artists and a writer came forward claiming Bungie used their work without authorization or credit, yet another artist is claiming their work was used in the environments of Marathon. In screenshots taken from Marathon's alpha playtest accompanying the artist's post, the artist, who goes by the online handle of Anti-Real, alleged they could see distinct icons and graphics they designed, some of which were originally shared on social media years ago in 2017. Quote from Anti-Real: Bungie is of course not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I have refined for the last decade, but clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution. That is a scathing quote, and understandably so. Anti-Real continued, I don't have the resources nor the energy to spare to pursue this legally, but I have lost count of the number of times a major company has deemed it easier to pay a designer to imitate or steal my work than to write me an email. In 10 years, I have never made a consistent income from this work, and I am tired of designers from huge companies mood boarding and parasiting my designs while I struggle to make a living, end quote. Bungie responded within hours, though it did not publicly apologize. The studio said it had now launched an investigation attributing the issue to a former Bungie artist and reached out to the artist concerned. Quote, we immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in-game, the team said in a statement. This issue was unknown by our existing art team, and we are still reviewing how this oversight occurred. We take matters like this very seriously. We've reached out to the artist to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission. To prevent similar issues in the future, we're conducting a thorough review of our own in-game assets, specifically those done by blah, 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 blah. This is not the first time Bungie has been accused of lifting ideas from elsewhere. In October, the studio was slapped with a lawsuit after a writer claimed the studio stole plot elements from his story and used them for content in Destiny 2's 2017 storyline, The Red War. Bungie recently tried to get the lawsuit dismissed, but a judge denied the request as Bungie scrambled to provide evidence, having since vaulted the content so it is no longer publicly playable. Just weeks before that lawsuit was filed, Bungie launched a different investigation to ascertain how a Nerf gun based on Destiny 2's iconic Ace of Spades was lifted almost wholesale from fan art designed back in 2015, including every brushstroke, scratch, and smudge on the weapon. Good God.
Wow.
All right. That's too much of me talking.
Yeah.
First reaction here, Michael. Your thoughts on this and just Bungie?
First off, if you're going to copy someone's homework, make it different. Like that's the golden rule in school, man. But even then, like all jokes aside, it's baffling how something like this can happen. And like I understand that, you know, there are a lot of moving parts at big development, any company that is creating assets and things like this. So, you know, it's if someone does do this when they lift assets or they lift ideas from somebody else, there might not be the mechanisms in place to check that stuff because it's constantly go, go, go. We need to put this thing out. We need to make things for the game. We need to push this. We have deadlines. We have to hit certain marks. So I understand the ways in which those things get overlooked. But for like an artist who your job is to like be an artist, to be a designer for this game.
Creative.
Be in a creative role, and like, yeah, like all art is inspired by art in the past. Everything we make is influenced by things we've seen in the past. But to like, when I saw the screenshots of the comparison between Anti-Real's art and the things that are in Marathon, it is baffling how you can and not get away with it, but how you let that pass. Like maybe you throw a bunch of things into a folder and be like, hey, these are all like placeholders for the idea that we're going for. Sure. But you do not release a playable version of the game with those assets in it. And so it can't be that, because like placeholder stuff, like you would want to like brush over that. You want to be like, hey, whoa, before we put this out, let's look over the things that are in the game to make sure it has all the assets that we want in it. And anything that's placeholder, make sure it's like clear or whatever. Like there's multiple ways in which this can happen. But to let this slip to this degree it's a huge oversight. And I don't want to, like, I'm not excusing this at all, but I think it's also indicative of what AAA game development is like, where you sometimes circumvent these checks and balances for the sake of hitting deadlines because you're on such a tight deadline and beholden to shareholders. Like, this is a microcosm of how broken AAA game development kind of is. That's not to excuse what the designers involved in this had done, because at the end of the day, like, you don't do this. You don't take someone's art. You find inspiration and make your own. You don't lift their assets and just slap it into the game. Inexcusable. That said, there's probably a reason why this happened. Maybe it's just like, hey, I don't have time. I'm lazy. I just want to throw this stuff together. Y'all figure it out. Maybe that happened. But at the end of the day, like, this is inexcusable. And as to why this happened, of course, like, they're investigating and all that stuff. But man, I can't imagine what it feels like to be Anti-Real and like see, like, their statement is pretty like on point. Like, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. Artists don't get paid a lot of money for what they do often. And like, talented artists sometimes just go overlooked altogether. So to see this, it must be like gut wrenching to like, oh, like, cool, this big company pulled my stuff again. And like, you know, at least they're not getting away with it. It's
like, well, I don't get how anybody on an individual or managerial whatever level could possibly think in this day and age with the internet that you could ever sneak it, that you could ever just not get caught. Like,
you can't.
You're
the
going to get caught. Will always find out. Yeah, it's like, come on. Like, you really think you're gonna be able to just know that no one's ever gonna notice?
Oh my God,
it's wild. I mean, and yeah, the fact that this is not Bungie's first rodeo when it comes to this stuff, on top of all the toxic workplace culture stuff that they've been trying to sort through for a number of years now. It kind of made me think about this. I want to get your perspective here, Michael, because like I've said it before, I was a big Bungie fan in the Halo days. Obviously, Halo, I just got done waxing poetic about Halo 2 specifically. Halo's meant a lot to me. It still does, but Halo's meant a lot to me over the years, and Bungie's a big reason for that. I mean, I reviewed Halo 2 at Bungie, or I was there, our editor-in-chief reviewed it, but I was along for the ride, and I played that game for the first time, or played through it at Bungie, and you know, I have known people at Bungie. I don't really know anybody there anymore, but it's a studio that was arguably one of the top 5 for sure, top 10 development studios. Like, if you polled 1,000 gamers, like, and asked them, like, what are what's the best, who's like the best game developer in the world, you'd get Bungie would probably crack that top 5 or top 10. I have, I don't keep up with them anymore because I'm not a Destiny person, and they've obviously gone completely that direction, but their star has just fallen so far at this point. And I'm not saying that they're not talented anymore. I'm not suggesting that at all. They're clearly still very much a talented team, but I was left to wonder, and here's what I'm setting you up for, Michael. It's in hindsight, obviously 2020 all the time, but the Microsoft Bungie divorce from the late 2000s, I didn't actually write down exactly what year it was. It was like 08, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the divorce between Microsoft and Bungie, where Microsoft kept the Halo IP and Bungie got its independence and was able to go off and do its own thing, which became Destiny, obviously. It almost seems like the divorce hasn't really worked out for either of them. Like it's they were, not that they were necessarily always happy together in that marriage all the time, but they were successful and they did a lot of cool stuff. But it's almost now they're just like, they've each struggled. And what I mean by that is, obviously we've seen massive layoffs, massive turnover, toxic workplace culture. Bungie's been quite through the ringer. Now, the founders, I want to use a profanity here, but I won't. They got paid in that $3.6 billion with a B acquisition of Sony. So some people got rich, but the rank and file developers, I don't think did. The people who've sort of borne the brunt of a lot of this, the issues that Bungie's had. But like that, is Bungie hasn't, they're not at the same level anymore. And while Microsoft got to keep the Halo IP, I think it's quite fair to say that Halo is far from what it once was. Again, it's still good. I gave the Infinite campaign a 9. I reviewed it myself. Not saying it's a quality thing, but it's the next Halo is God knows how many years away. It was 6 years between 5 and Infinite. Nobody seems to really care about Halo in the cultural zeitgeist thing anymore. The TV show flopped. So again, I'm not saying it's not profitable, that it's not an asset of value to Microsoft, but I'm just saying it almost just, to me, it feels like the divorce hasn't really worked out for either of them, and not that it would have if they'd stayed together. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that all these issues at Bungie would have just gone away, and that Halo would have stayed. I mean, certainly there is an interesting historical what if they'd stayed together in the Halo sense. Like, would Halo have stayed more, for lack of a better term, relevant?
Stay together for the longer, kids, right?
But anyway, I couldn't help but think about that, about sort of how their paths have diverged since the divorce.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say that Bungie hasn't had wild successes,
of course,
since then, because like Destiny 2 for a good chunk of time, Destiny 2 was like the biggest thing in games, and Destiny 2 has been wildly influential for how shooters play, and how, talking to the Outer Worlds 2 devs, they're like, hey, we want our shooting to be closer to something like Destiny because it's so good. So like they still got that sauce, and like if anything coming out of the Marathon Alpha is a lot of people are like, hey, it's kind of bare bones, but the core like shooting, like it's that Bungie stuff that we really like. And like the Destiny 2 had at its peak was just some of the best stuff that we had seen from a quote unquote live service game. So, and like with the tumultuous time with Activision, and then gaining their independence off of Activision, and then eventually getting sold to like PlayStation, in that time too, Bungie itself has been through it's been tossed around in so many different ways. It had to transform and change, and during that time trying to keep up this live service game that like once you reach a peak, you kind of, I don't want to say you set yourself up for failure, but like you're like, oh no, we're at the peak. Shit, we need to like maintain the peak, and no one can really do that. That's just like an impossible task. So, that's just like the position that they're in, and then like it is perceived as like a downfall if it doesn't live up to that live up to that hype. So it's a tough position to be in, and through those years, there's been ups and downs, and like I think also, as you mentioned, like internally, Bungie's been through there's just like a lot of bad actors within that, and I think that's also the case across a lot of game developers we've seen at studios. Unfortunately, there's just been a lot of, ousting, and like a lot of stories coming out of how the workplace environments from across the board, including Bungie. And that's not to say that that stuff wasn't around before we knew about all that stuff, but it's kind of like, man, it's a case in which, hey, this is a big name developer. You need to get your things in order.
Yeah.
Like not even like this plagiarism scandal, I guess, is just one of the many things that they have to get their stuff in order, man. And like, imagine being under the pressure of being under PlayStation now, where you have to deliver this live service game. Like, there's just a lot of things going on there that I don't know if anyone is equipped to handle. So this is like the last thing they needed, is like a couple designers kind of blowing up their spot. I know that, like, I know a couple people at Bungie who are like excited to be working on Marathon. They're like, yo, this is like really cool. I get to work on the next big Bungie game, and it could be kind of whatever we want. But then there are all these other pressures from the outside, and then you have something like this happen, and it just, it kind of doesn't matter how prestigious that name is. At the end of the day, like, you're still a game development studio who is beholden to a lot of these things, a lot of these pressures that are kind of out of your control. So, it's nice to think about the golden era of Bungie, especially under Xbox, when everything was firing on all cylinders. But the reality is that, the forces of nature kind of don't care about your past or care about your prestige in that regard. And unfortunately, it is kind of been coming down on Bungie quite a bit in recent years.
Yeah, and even though I know you mentioned the golden era of Bungie with Halo and Microsoft, and we are, just in case anybody starts typing a comment, we know that yes, there was a lot of strife and hell within that studio. Like, Halo 2 famously had a nightmarish development cycle, like absolutely torturous for the folks involved. But yeah, it is just, if you'd have told me 10 years ago, when because 10 years ago Destiny 1 had just come out and was, like you said, it was this huge thing. It arguably pioneered the live service game, and in some ways some gamers might
begrudge that, right?
But yeah, be like, oh god damn it, Bungie, you guys, because of you succeeding here, a bunch of our favorite developers they pivot into the live service space, and it's gone horribly wrong. But no, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that this is where we'd be now, it'd just be, I don't know what I would be like. I would be certainly disappointed. I'd be like, oh, really? Like, Bungie's kind of gone that far downhill? It sucks. So yeah, we'll see what happens from here. If Marathon doesn't hit in a big way, because I don't know what happens. Like, I don't know if I can't imagine Sony is would like shut them down, because that's $3.5 billion. I don't think they're gonna just dissolve Bungie and take its IPs and give them to other studios within the company. But I don't know. I don't know what happens if Marathon's not a big hit. So we'll kind of see what happens with Bungie moving forward. So while Bungie was doing dumb stuff, Gearbox boss Randy Pitchford saying dumb stuff. This dude must have a foot fetish, because he's just shoving that foot in his mouth. Just nom, 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 yum, 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 says Randy Pitchford. It's just like,
damn,
dude,
dog.
Read the room, man. So here's I'm sorry, I can't help but have a little fun with this one, because It's just, I got to read you the story first. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so Randy's been tweeting, and the PR people at 2K are probably like trying to drown themselves in a bathtub because this is what Randy's tweeting. So just a Borderlands fan on Twitter tweets at Randy and says, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. End quote. So would you agree that's a pretty, that's not an acidic tweet? Like that's fair, right? That was a fair post.
I think like it's, it's a little bit of like it's not, I wouldn't say innocent, but it's fair. I would say it's fair.
Maybe a little aggressive, but not mean, right? It wasn't personal. It wasn't
maybe a little naive, but your heart's kind of in the right place, I guess.
Yeah. And it wasn't attacking Randy. It was, it's so, and in fairness, Randy didn't attack back because here's what he did say though. So
God.
he chooses to respond and he says, not my call regarding the price. Okay. All right. That's sure. Probably should have stopped there or just left this one in drafts.
That's it.
So he says, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. And
my God. You know what?
Randy.
I look at that response and like, if you just cut out, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Just cut that part out. And he's like, he just, saying things on the internet. It's fine. But that part is the killer right there, man. You can't say that.
And here's the thing. It's not that Randy is wrong in the sense of it's not his call, although I do agree he probably has some influence, but ultimately it isn't. He's right. It's not his call. He sold Gearbox to 2K. It is 2K's call as to what the price of the game's going to be. So he's not wrong there. And he's also, equating super expensive cartridges, which were expensive for a physical like media reason in the 90s, maybe isn't quite the same as the digital pricing of a game in 2025. But, I'm not saying he's like completely wrong, but it's just, dude, it's such a bad, it's like, you can't like effectively insult your own customers by saying,
hey, don't
get
be
a
broke.
second job. Like PlayStation 3 is $599 US. Get a second job. Or to use an Xbox example, this is maybe even more relevant. This is if this is Randy playing the role of Don Matrick, and it would be, we have a Borderlands game for people that can't afford Borderlands 4. It's called Borderlands 3. that would be the Xbox equivalent from Xbox history. But just like Michael, you can't.
You can't.
This isn't going to go over anything but very, very, very badly, which is exactly what's happened.
Yeah, you like, man, like say nothing. And that I think that's the thing with like Randy Pitchford is like he's always, man, we've like as part of media too. We've like by and large, like the royal we have had a lot of run-ins with him with just like saying a lot of incendiary stuff that like, hey man, if that's how you feel, whatever, but you don't got to say it. You don't got to say it out loud because you're not going to get anything out of it. And it's the fact that you still haven't learned this yet is like, it's just in his DNA to respond. That dude is a poster. He loves posting. It's in his blood to post. And in this particular case, it's kind of like, like you said, you're kind of not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. And man, it's like, and by and large, like, I don't think it's going to affect Borderlands 4 one way or the other, but I can imagine being on like being his handler or being on the PR side, like, yo, he's at it again. Imagine waking up to like, damn,
somebody changed his Twitter password.
We told him not to post, and then he posted. Like, I want to be in the room. I want to be on the fly on the wall about these conversations, because like this particular case is largely harmless, right? But it's just so perplexing that he keeps doing these kinds of things, man. So yeah, I don't know. Borderlands 4, one way or the other, like, if it's going to be $80, that's a larger conversation about the price of games, which y'all touched on in weeks past. But man, to call your audience broke if they can't afford Borderlands 4 is a wild move.
Well, yeah,
that's like on the,
yeah, you'll figure out a way to make it happen if you're a real fan.
like on the dialogue tree, this is like the renegade choice. And you had to choose the renegade choice. You didn't have to do it, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I first read this, my first thought was that Randy, he's officially been ultra rich for so long now. Because remember, this dude has, and hey, credit to you, he built a studio from scratch in the 90s. Originally it was called Rebel Boat Rocker, and then it kind of became Gearbox later. He sold this company twice. First, I believe it was Elevation Partners, a venture capital firm, in either the late 90s or 2000s, and then again to 2K here far more recently. So clearly Randy's been ultra rich for so long that he's just completely lost touch with what it's like to be a normal person making a normal living, where $80, okay, you can make the 1991 Starflight for Sega Genesis comparison, but there's also like the economy is very different now. Like, sure, $80 in 1991, you could say, well, with inflation, that's whatever that is now, but groceries are more money today.
Yeah.
And gas is more money today, and rent is more money today. And it's just like,
it's tone deaf.
I'm no economist. I'm not going to sit here and try to get into a whole like socioeconomic comparison of the 2020s with the 1990s, but like I said, it's such a to call your customers
brokies,
not real fans, if they're not willing to figure out how to pay $80 when they've got rent and childcare costs, which are, there's 6,000 things that are going up and up and up in price, and video games are becoming more and more of a luxury, of a difficult to afford luxury for a lot of people. It's just like, good Lord, Randy, like, just be a human being.
Leave it in
for
drafts,
a second
bro.
here, man. Yeah.
Leave it in drafts, bro. Like the funniest part is like all these details. Ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach. Like, dog, we didn't need to know all that. We didn't need to know all that. It's fine. Oh, geez. What a piece of work.
Yeah, let's I don't know if that affects anybody's decision to pay full price on day one for Borderlands 4, but now there you go. You do with that Randy quote what you will.
With what you want, yeah.
Let's talk about, we've got 3 fun things to talk about before we go here. Maybe even 4.
Before we go, I also want to like give a quick shout out to what I've been playing, but we can get to that.
Oh yeah,
a little later, if that's cool.
No, we've got plenty more to go here. I know we're over an hour in, and we don't want to bog our producer down all day, but I did want to cover a few more things that are good. Microsoft this is the kind of thing that usually gets announced after we record, so I'm very happy that it got announced before. Microsoft announces Retro Classics with Game Pass and kicks things off with over 50 Activision games from the 80s and 90s. Microsoft has announced Retro Classics with Game Pass, a collaboration with Antstream Arcade to bring a collection of over 50 classic Activision games from the 80s and 90s to Game Pass members. Microsoft said, this is, quote, a step in our commitment to game preservation and backwards compatibility. And these Retro Classics will be available to all Game Pass membership options in the regions where Game Pass is currently available. So even if you're a Game Pass standard customer, you don't have to have Ultimate for this, which is great. Let me just buzz through. I don't know if I'm not going to read you all of them. Let's see here. I'll just see if I can pick out a few highlights. Old Activision baseball, boxing, checkers, Chopper Command, Commando. You've got, let's see here. Boy, yeah, this is some stuff that's even before my time, which is saying something at this point.
I do want to shout out Mech Warrior 2.
Yes.
Those, I love those.
Mech Warrior 2 is probably, now that I'm just buzzing through the rest of the list, that's probably the biggest, that's probably the biggest game on this list. I mean, there's a couple space quests in here if you love old school point and click classic adventure games. Zork, if you want to get your text adventure on. Yeah, just a ton of stuff here. Yeah, wow. This Pitfall, old school Pitfall.
Yeah, and Pitfall 2.
This is cool to see. So, yeah, what do you say, Michael? Good. This is, as long as the Game Pass price, the Game Pass price stays the same, this is all good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, like we talked about, like preservation is important, and I think if you're gonna put this out, hopefully, like they're good versions of these games. I mean, there's multiple ways to play these kinds of games, but the more and more you make them accessible and like affordable, I guess by not beholding them to a higher tier or whatever, I think it's a net positive. And it's probably one of those things that you'll pop in and play for like 30 minutes, see which ones you vibe with, but to keep that around is the bigger thing than like, oh, I get to play all these games. It's like, no, well, yes, but these games will exist in perpetuity so long as it is available on these platforms.
Good stuff. Yeah. Kudos to Microsoft on that. Nice little value add. Speaking of Game Pass, we've got Wave 2 for May announced. I'll blow through these real quick. Monster Train 2, Creatures of Ava, Hellblade 2 coming to Game Pass Standard now, out of Ultimate down to Standard. They're also porting that one to PS5, another one of the old first-party catalog games moving over. There will be a patch to update the Xbox version too when that happens. Stalker 2 in Game Pass Standard. Tales of Kenzara Zao, pardon me. That is coming to everything through EA Play today, as of the publishing of this podcast. Game Pass Ultimate and PC, so you do need Ultimate for that one. The Division 2 to cloud console and PC via Ultimate and Standard, as well as PC Game Pass. To a T, which I saw Shuhei Yoshida talking up on social. And here you go, your game of the year last year, Michael, IGN's game of the year, in fact, Metaphor ReFantazio.
No excuses. You have to play Metaphor.
It is, and it's on Standard, PC, and Game Pass Ultimate for cloud PC and console. So
Game Pass subscribers don't know how good you have it right now. Play Metaphor.
80 hours for this? What are we looking at?
I did my 80 hours. Yeah.
So plenty of enjoyment to be had there from the 2024 IGN Game of the Year. And then Spray Paint Simulator, Crypt Custodian, and Symphonia. So, Metaphor, the clear standout there. But again, if you don't have Ultimate, you have Standard. Well, great. Go play Stalker 2 and take a run through Hellblade 2. It is one of the prettiest games you'll ever see, and there's definitely stuff to like about it. We talked about it obviously when it first came out, but check those out. And let's see, I think we had, last topic, I promise, to our poor producer, Tayo, who's like, make this, guys, please stop, make it end. We have our top 20 best-selling games in the US for April. And tell me if you notice a pattern here at the top of the list, Michael. Number one seller for April, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. Number two seller for April of 2025, Forza Horizon 5.
Ooh.
Number 3, MLB The Show 25. Number 4, Minecraft. Number 5, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Number 6, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Number 7, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Number 8, WWE 2K25. 9, NBA 2K25. 10, PGA Tour 2K25. So that's your 2K block. And then from the rest of from 11 to 20, you got Monster Hunter Wilds, Split Fiction, hell yeah, that kicks ass. Last of Us Part 2, EA Sports FC 25, GTA 5 at 15, Red Dead Redemption 2 at 16, ESO at 17, Elder Scrolls Online, Elden Ring at 18, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 at 19, and Hogwarts Legacy, the top-selling game of 2024? No, 23.
Yes.
Hogwarts Legacy still clocking in at number 20 here in May or April of 2025. Yeah. What is the pattern that jumps out at you there from the top of that list?
A whole lot of Microsoft games, games under the Xbox Game Studio branch. I know Forza Horizon 5 is there because of that PS5 release.
Yes.
And it is also a fantastic game. But man, yeah, they're Minecraft's still up there. Indiana Jones is still up there. Call of Duty, of course. It's like these big properties. Xbox has all these big properties that have staying power, I guess. And Elder Scrolls topping it all off is I think I don't know who I heard this from, but it's like it was in this Monday morning meeting when we have a story on how Oblivion has already outsold the original release. Of course,
yes,
the player base. The install base is completely different nowadays. So like that's sort of expected, but it's also like, wow, who knew they were sitting on a gold mine with Oblivion remastering? It's like sales doesn't seem to be a problem judging from this top 20 list that we have for April. Like sales don't seem to be a problem with Xbox Game Studios. So, flipping that success into, having that success kind of proliferate throughout its studios, I hope is the overall effect of this, because these are great games and they're selling really well. And hopefully the goal is that, you take care of your studios who are making these games. But yeah, it's, we used to say Xbox don't got games. You can't say that now.
No. And here's the thing. We've done a million of these monthly best-selling list discussions on Unlocked. And quite frankly, as we all can remember, Xbox games would very rarely, almost never, make the top 20 because consoles in third place and Game Pass. And now, what this clearly says is whether people like it or not, the multi-platform strategy is absolutely working for Microsoft. That is not debatable. Forza Horizon 5, IGN's 2021 Game of the Year,
4 years ago,
is the number 2 best-selling game in April of 2025.
Yeah.
And as you noted, it is not a coincidence that it's because it went to PlayStation, where there's no, it's not on PlayStation Plus. It is people paying
full price.
I guess $70. I don't actually know, but yeah, people are paying money on PS5 for Forza Horizon 5, which it deserves. It is well worth that money, even for 3.5 years later here.
Yeah,
just an incredible game. So that's awesome. Of course, Sony at number 3 there with MLB The Show, but Minecraft is just always up there. That's the one that's always been up there, even before Microsoft started this bigger multi-platform strategy. Mm-hmm. And Indiana Jones at 6 after, being out for several months just on Xbox and PC. So love seeing that because that game's
that did get the PS5 release was in March. I think it was March this year. So
it also March or April. Yeah.
Yeah. It was able to get that PS5 boost. But again, speaking to like the multi-platform strategy, it's like, hey, Indiana Jones is still on the top selling list. And yeah, it's a great game and it's a big property, but it's also a multi-platform game now. So that's, if you were worried about Xbox is losing, it's like on the Xbox side of things, they don't care. They're selling these things on multiple platforms. They don't care where you're playing them because people are obviously buying them.
And it was April 17th, by the way. So it was the middle.
Really?
So that's only it's basically a 2-week bump from the PS5 sales that had already rocketed it up to number 6 on the list.
that's
I'll be
crazy.
curious if it sticks around on the May list in a month from now. I hope so, because that, Forza Horizon 5, my 2021 game of the year, IGN's 2021 game of the year, Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, not IGN's game of the year for 2024, but it was my game of the year for 2024. So glad to see more people playing that one. All right. We've done it. I think we've finally, we can shut up now.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean me, because I've, as usual, talked a lot. But what was you wanted to talk about something you were playing, right?
Yeah, couple minutes. I do want to talk about Rido Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army. I got to play a preview demo of it. We talked about it in episodes past because it is coming to Xbox. It is the PlayStation remaster, or it was a PlayStation 2 cult classic, I would say, of Devil Summoner. It's Shin Megami Tensei game, by the way, so I'm a sicko for it. Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Summoner, Rido Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army. They scrapped all that. They call it Rido Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army. And I played the demo, and it's one of those games that captures a moment. So we're talking about like older era games, and this is a remaster more than it is a remake. They refined a lot of the systems in the game, but it is such a PS2 era ass game that they've stuck to a lot of the design philosophies of it. Fixed camera angles when you're exploring a city, like this sort of not too complex combat system, but I love it because it is still incorporating a lot of the things that we've seen from Atlas RPGs with the devil summoning system and like the way you fuse demons, way you bring them into combat in an action RPG. So Atlas doesn't really have action RPGs. I mean, you have Persona 5 Strikers, which was made with Koei Tecmo on the Dynasty Warrior side of things, but this is like Atlas's internal action RPG. And it was a late PS2 game, but the thing that really stood out to me, I played this game recently too on the PS2 version, but replaying it now, it's kind of like you could tell that this is posited because it came out right after Persona 3 and right before Persona 4. And you could tell that Atlas always does these spin-offs or interstitial games that kind of are a half step to get to their next big game. They did that with Catherine between Persona 4 and Persona 5. Catherine was kind of like a template for what Persona 5 ended up being, both musically, artistic wise, like some of the systems and mechanics and how they were refitting that for like a new engine and a new generation of consoles. So Devil Summoner also felt like this transition between Persona 3 and Persona 4, especially with its music. And this game is like, it's not just, it's a Shin Megami Tensei spinoff. Like, it takes place in early 1900s Japan. So it's like this turn of the century period that is kind of has a unique aesthetic. But this game is so wild. Like, Rasputin is one of the characters in here. You play as like this guy who can summon devils, who's also investigating for a detective agency, and there's like this parallel to like communist demons who are like kidnapping people. It is so it's ridiculous. It is wild. But if you have an appetite for Atlas RPGs, especially if you're coming off of Metaphor and you want to see where Atlas had been in years past before they became like this juggernaut in the RPG space, it's kind of wild that they are remastering this game, and I'm glad that they are. And it's in pretty good form. It's very true to that original PS2 release. It has some refinements, but it is like, don't expect like, oh, this is Atlas's next big game. Oh, it's an action RPG from the Persona team and the Metaphor team. Like, nah, it's not really that, but it is kind of, it's nice to see, again, preservation and maintaining the spirit of that original release in modern form. So I got to play it. It was really cool. That's coming out soon too. So if you're interested in old games, washed up games for people like me, or if you just want like a simple action RPG of that era, Rido Remastered it's pretty cool. I like it a lot.
Excellent. Oh, love hearing a plug for a game that you're enthusiastic about. Yeah. All right, my friend, we have done it. It is time for us to pack our bags and get ready to head down to Los Angeles, where we shall reconvene in person, not just with each other, but with all of you, hopefully many of you listening out there. We hope you'll join us at IGN Live. June 7th and 8th. The Xbox action is obviously all happening on June 8th. So check it out, ign.com/live. And that will do it. So again, reminder, no Unlock next week. The next time you see us and hear us, We will be live. It'll be our pre-show just ahead of the Xbox Showcase, and then our live post-show immediately following that. So, for Michael Hyam, I'm Ryan McCaffrey. This episode was produced by Tayo Oyekin. Technical production is by Marian Franzen and Amir Rakib. Technical direction and editing are by Tayo Oyekin. Graphic design by Justin Vachon. Unlocked is an IGN production and part of the Geek Media Network. We'll see you in Los Angeles live on Sunday, June 8th, starting at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. See you then.